What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're reviewing the new DRAITRON card. I told y'all like a month ago, maybe even more at this point, that DRAITRON was going to get at least another ritual. It could have potentially been a Link or an Exceed, but it ends up being another ritual, which makes sense. It's a ritual deck. Right, I knew we were getting something like that, and it ends up being another big ritual monster. He looks pretty cool, honestly. He's like kind of like the original. He's kind of like DRA, but he's kind of dragon-esque. But yeah, let's get into him. All right, this is the last DRAITRON card we're getting in Genesis Impactors. All right, so this is DRAITRON Meteornus QUA. This is a light machine ritual effect monster. He's level 12. His attack and defense are both 4,000, and you can ritual summon this card with Meteornus DRAITRON, and its second and third effects are hard once per turns. The first effect reads: your opponent cannot target this card with spell and trap effects. That's fine. Honestly, they could have made that just any effects, because monster effects that target are going to be more common than spell and trap effects that target anyway. It's nice. I guess like the one thing is like, oh, if you're playing like a back row deck, this could be pretty good. If they don't have a solemn for you, like they actually could be in trouble. Like you're not getting cracked down versus goo. You're not getting compulsed. You know what I mean? None of that stuff. So that's kind of okay. Second effect reads: during your main phase, if this card was ritual summoned using monsters whose total levels equal 2 or less, you can destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Now that's pretty strong, but it's not a quick effect. If it was a quick effect, it'd be a little better. That way, like even if you summoned him and your opponent had back row and they tried to like chain something to the summon to try and like clear you off the field, you could respond and still wipe back row. But it's still pretty powerful, and you're almost always going to be making this card with 2 or less monsters. In fact, you might even be making it with 1. Now that we have 2 copies, or 2 different monsters with 4,000 attack in the deck, you may be doing like fairly consistent like ritual summons using like just using like DRA for QUA or QUA for DRA, so you don't have to actually tribute 2 monsters. You may only have to tribute 1 monster some of the time. So that's actually pretty nice, pretty resource efficient, which is nice. But yeah, this is a fine effect. It seems like the other one, DRA, is going to be your main squeeze, but QUA is maybe a one of in the deck, just so that it's searchable. If you're in a matchup where back row is present, it's an easy, just wipe all that back row and just clear them out, or at least bait something out. But you also have to put a good amount of resources into them, so there is definitely some push and pull there. And then the third effect says, if this ritual summoned card is destroyed, you can special summon any number of DRAITRON monsters from your graveyard whose total attack equal exactly 4,000 except for QUA. So, what does this third effect do? I mean, like, it's fine. If this just said sent from field to the graveyard, I'd be so much more into it, because it would just actually make this card potentially better, just because it would be such a generic float that like is so hard for people to work around. But it's destruction specifically, and that's still fine. It's just not amazing. Now you can summon back DRA potentially. I think he has to be correctly summoned originally. I don't remember. And I don't remember the ruling on that for ritual monsters. But most of the time, I'm assuming you're just going to be reborning 2 of the small DRAITRON monsters into attack, back to the field. They could be in attack mode, which is actually pretty cool because they always have to summon themselves in defense, but they're 2,000 attacks, so it could be nice to apply pressure that way. But yeah, like it's a float. It's a big guy with like an okay protection effect, with a powerful but like non-reliable back row removal, right? You have like a stipulation you need to meet, as well as the fact that it's slow. So like you could summon this card, and if your opponent has 2-3 back row, they probably have something, impermanence or something, to keep him from wiping their whole back row anyway. And he only floats on destruction. It's like a mediocre float and a mediocre protection effect and a mediocre back row wipe. all in all, I think he's like utility. I think he might be like a one of, just in case you are in like a back row matchup. He would probably be better in situations to go into, especially if they have a lot of targeting back row. Something like strikers would really struggle to like out this card, just because he's untargetable by spells and traps. But the other big guy is just maybe not as good at it versus those matchups, because he just mainly is like sending monsters and stuff. So yeah, maybe he's a one of when you're in that right matchup. Maybe he's even a side deck card for when you are in those matchups. You side him in because you don't even want him in the main. But the cool thing about having him in the main is he is another copy of a 4,000 monster, so he can just be a one monster tribute to get DRA out, which could actually be pretty good. You know, only using like the ritual, him, and DRA, so that could actually work out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Keep in mind, guys, for Genesis Impactors, that set comes out in about 10 days in the OCG, and we have no Evil Twins cards revealed, literally none, and we still have one main deck monster to be revealed for the Magistus archetype. So we still got a good amount of stuff. I think we have 11 cards almost. I think it's almost guaranteed that 11 cards are going to be for the Evil Twin archetype, which is pretty cool. So 11 cards for them, 1 card for Magistus. I'm more excited to find out those, honestly. I think DRAITRONs are cool, but they're not my personal cup of tea, but that doesn't mean it can't be yours. So let me know your thoughts down below on this new monster here. Do you think it's better than I'm giving it credit for? I feel like I'm kind of low-key bashing it, but I do think it is like a potential just one of in the deck, utility slash more efficient ritual summons. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, thank you so much for watching as well, and I will see you in the next video. Subscribe if you haven't. Just do it. Just do it if you want to see more news like this. Peace.